it's Tara from Divine by Designs, and today I'm going to show you how to make a moss floral hoop wreath for this spring and your home decor. I hope you guys enjoy. Okay guys, so the first step for this is attaching the tulips. So you see how the stems are a little bit long. I'm just going to cut them down. Now my theme for this is an off-white. These are like an ivory color tulip. I'm using some pinks, some blues, and of course purple, because that's my favorite color. So the first thing that we're going to do is attach one of the sets of tulips. So I'm just going to use some wire, and I'm going to go underneath here to just get it. I'm going to cut it. It's better to have more than less, so don't worry about it. It's pretty inexpensive. Everything that I got here, I got at Michael's and one of my wholesale distributors, but you could find everything in Michael's. You'll see when I pull the moss up later, it's this huge bag. You totally don't need that, but I got it just for a whole bunch of other projects, so I figured why not use it. This one's a little tight to cut. There we go. Okay. Going to cut the wire again. So for the most part, we're going to be using floral tape, but just because, you know, the tulip branches, there's a bunch of tulips, so it's a little thicker. I'm just going to use the wire, but then everything else is tape. If you've never used tape before, it's pretty easy. You just have to get the hang of it. Now the wreath form that I'm using is a 16-inch wooden wreath form. It makes it much easier to glue things on, and we'll be gluing the moss on later. Most of the hoop wreaths that I make and I sell in my Etsy shop are the metal ones, but it's a bit harder to glue on it. And also for the moss, I like that this is thicker. When you're using the metal hoop wreaths, it is not nearly as thick. Okay, so those are in here, and now I'm going to add these flowers first. I'm going to have them on the side, and what I'm going to do with these is I'm actually just going to slip them through the wire. So there's a longer one and a shorter one. I'm going to keep the shorter one on the bottom, and it's okay. It's going to be a little loose using this wire, but it's not a big deal because we're going to be putting so much floral tape on. It'll eventually kind of get pushed into that and all will be well. So don't worry about that. Just fit this one in here. See, and once you get it in, you can kind of move it around and do whatever it is that you need to do. And the middle right now looks ugly, but it's going to be covered by a big flower, so don't worry. So the blue one, same thing. It's going to go on the inside. I'm just kind of slipping it through that wire. Again, we're going to be using a bunch of floral tape, so don't worry about it coming loose. Okay, so up in the top here, I'm going to be putting the pink flowers one higher than the other. Okay, so with the floral tape, I'm going to do 2 flowers on either side and tape them both separately just to make sure it's secure. Pull tape. If it's not enough, you can always add more. If it's too much, it's never too much. It'll just keep it even more secure. So you want to hold it with your finger and then wrap around. Okay, once it's in place, you can kind of start pulling it much tighter to make sure. And you see what I said before when I said don't worry about if it's loose in the wire. This in itself will secure it all, so don't worry about that. Okay, then I'm going to get my other 2 flowers. This is a little long here, so I'm just cut it down, right? I want one higher. That one's a little long too. Going to cut my tape, so I just have it in my hand, and then I'll get this ready. Okay, same thing. And remember, like right now I can see that these two pink ones are smushed. It's not a big deal. Once everything's set in the floral tape, I can bend it around and make it look better. So. Okay. Now we have the two purple ones. See, these stems are super long. Definitely gonna cut both of those down. All right, the pink one, I kind of want angled out a little bit more. So I'm gonna angle those out, and then we're going to put the purple ones on the inside. So you may be thinking, why didn't I just put all of these in the floral tape? I get nervous doing that just because, you know, the tape is pretty strong, but it's not like it's like electrical tape or anything. So I don't want to risk it not staying. So I just would rather wrap it separately. You know, when I made my first wreath years ago, probably, oh God, almost 7 years ago, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing, but I wanted to try it. And I remember it was a windy day outside, and half of my wreath was in pieces just blowing around. And I was like, oh, well, guess I didn't secure it well enough. So that's why I'd rather be safe than sorry. Okay, now we have these two purple for the other side. Again, cutting it down. Let me cut my floral tape. Again, hold it down. Oh, as I'm telling you to hold it down, I lost my own grip. Hold it down, wrap it around, and then once it's wrapped around once, it's usually pretty sturdy, and then you really want to kind of tug on it a little bit to make it all nice and tight and keep everything in there. Okay. So now I have a big dahlia and a small dahlia, and what I'm going to do is put the big dahlia on the top. Okay, again, I'll be able to bend it after I get it secured here. I'm gonna cut it. See, and this will be one of the focal points. And then the other side, there's actually a smaller dahlia, but then the middle, I'm putting a pretty pink peony with a bud. I love when you can buy a peony stem and it comes with a little bud. I just think it's so cute. Okay, that one's gonna go in that vicinity. And you see, guys, that's pretty quick. I can't see a clock right now, but I'm assuming it's been maybe 15 minutes max. So you should be able to make this, I would say, in about 30 minutes. Maybe if it's your first wreath, maybe 45, just because you're getting used to it, but it's really not hard. I'm just going to add a little bit more floral tape because that was not a lot. Okay. Perfect. And now what we want to do with the peony here is, you see how this looks ugly, right? We want to position this so that it's covering it. So what I'm going to do is actually angle it down. Okay, and just kind of get it in there. Don't worry about the stems. The other one I made, I cut them off and kind of bended them at the end so that you wouldn't be able to see them. This one is a little harder to do because it's angled, so that's why I did use more floral tape than I have for the rest, just to make sure I kind of get it where I need it to be. Now you see I'm pushing my finger down on the tape and kind of pushing that out. And now that I could see what's happening here, I'm going to cut both of these stems. This one I just want to bend down a little bit because I don't want to fully cut it. And then I'm going to push out this purple because that will cover the stem too. All right, we're done with the flowers, and now it is time for the moss. So let me just move all this over. We're going to be using the hot glue gun on this. I'm going to do the closer parts last. So like I said, guys, I have a big bag of moss. This, honestly, there is a better moss to use where it's already kind of clumped together. But like I said, I had this, so I didn't want to waste it. So I decided to just use it. So here I'm just kind of adding some hot glue, and then what I do is I take the moss, kind of bunch it together, push it down. The last one I just made, certain areas were a little bit more barren. That's not a big deal. We can easily just add some more glue on top of the original layer of moss and then add more. And then I just kind of push on my glue gun and take it as far as it'll go until I have to repush, add moss, and then I just keep repeating it over and over. And you see how it looks a little messy. In the end, I'm going to show you how we can clean it up so that it does not look messy. And like I said, the other moss that I'm referring to, which you could get at Michael's as well, it's a clumpier moss. This is more of like a loose moss, so the clumpier moss is going to stick, or not stick better, just kind of stay more bunched up. You know, when I make my wreaths, I use a glue pot, so I'm not really used to the hot glue gun, and I can remember why I had gotten the glue pot, because it used to drive me insane. Every time I would put the glue gun down, it would fall over, as it just did again. Okay, just adding more glue. See, I already see a little bit of a bare spot right there, so. See how I just added that right on top of the moss? You'll never know. Adding a little bit more, done. Okay, let's move this so you could see it. Really, you can make it as full or as light as you'd like. So now we're getting close to the flowers, which always makes me nervous because we could get glue on it. So before you even put the glue down, I suggest getting your moss ready, keeping it right here. What I'm gonna do is push these flowers back. I wanna take it back a little bit just in case they move. I want to make sure that the wood is covered. And then, there we go, safe to put the flowers back over. Going to do the same thing to this side. You don't see anything, but again, in case it moves, see how there's that little wooden area. So again, have your moss ready. Oh, I almost just lost that. Okay. Right, now we're just going to take a quick look to see, it's a little bit bare right there and a little bit bare right there. So just gonna add some glue. Take a little bit more moss, put it down. Same thing on this side. Add some glue. Okay. So then like this area, I'm gonna actually glue that down instead of cutting it. Okay. You see like these little wispies. If you like the wispies, you can keep them. I do to an extent. Sometimes it's a little too much. Let me glue that down right there. Oh, that did not hold in place. Okay, better. You know, moss typically tends to stick to itself, so I wouldn't worry about it even if it's not all glued down. Just gonna cut a little bit more and clean it up. Okay, you'll be able to see it better. And probably once it's hung, I'll probably mess around with it a little bit more. All right, the flowers you can really position however you want to, but like I said, they're bendable. So you can bend it and make it point that way, bend it and make it point that way, whichever you. So there you have it, guys. You made your first moss floral hoop wreath. Make sure, please, to like, share, and follow me on YouTube and find me on Instagram. My handle is Divine by Designs LLC. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you guys soon.